Joining me today is one half of one of the opening bouts for the upcoming Invicta FC 56 card. She fights out of the Mercenary Combat Academy over in Tri-Cities, Washington. She's Ellis Pellegrini. How's it going today, Allie?
Good. How you doing?
Doing great. So let's start off with the first question. What's the pup's name?
What was that?
What's the dog's name?
Oh, Billy. Billy. She's actually the star of the show. It's not really about me. It's about her. So.
Yeah, I mean, she's been, I think from the time we hopped on here, she's been front and center. So, and I realized I never asked her name. So that's that out of the way. You know, we're about 3 weeks away from your pro debut at Invicta FC 56, where you're going to face Marissa Ellis. She's out of Ignite over in Missouri, trains with like Zach Cummins. You're not fighting Zach Cummins, so it doesn't really matter who she trains with. However, you know, when you go back to your Invicta journey, it doesn't start in 3 weeks. It started back in February. Like, how has it been kind of signing with the promotion and then kind of just like patiently waiting, impatiently waiting? How was the wait so far?
Patiently waiting, just because I obviously I was thrilled to get that 4-fight deal. That's, you know, what I've been working towards for the past 6-7 years. But I know that I want to be ready, so I've been staying in the gym, working on everything, and just patiently waiting. I saw their first show, and I thought it was great, and I was hoping to get on the second one, and it just worked out really well.
Awesome. You know, and when people pull your typology, this is where the fun part of like mixed martial arts comes into play. All we see is your 2 AMI fights. I know from, you know, doing my research and being, you know, in preparations for this, like, you have more than just those 2 fights. You have Muay Thai and you have grappling and all that. You mind giving a rundown of like what your actual experience is outside of what typology cares about?
Yeah, so I had my very first fight back in 2019. It was a Muay Thai fight. I had only been training for a little under a year, and I took a fight. I got knocked out in that very first fight. And then since then, I went on a 7-fight win streak between Muay Thai and MMA. So 5-1 Muay Thai. And then I made my MMA debut a few years back and won another one last year. So yeah, 2-0 MMA, 5-1 Muay Thai, and then I've done more grappling tournaments than I can possibly count. So, and that's another way I've gained a lot of experience with my grappling. So yeah, I've been pretty active in competition over the past few years.
Awesome. And you know, what really got you started in like your MMA journey, be it, you know, even before like the Muay Thai and all that? What actually started everything?
I just, for as long as I can remember, I always wanted to be a boxer. I wasn't, like, I did softball for a long time, from the time I was a kid to a teen. But I was always interested in boxing. I just didn't know how to get into it, or I didn't know anybody that did it. I just didn't know anything. And things were crazy for my like teen years. It took me a while to kind of get it together. And as soon as I felt like confident enough, and I sometimes wish I would have done it sooner, but I finally got the confidence to get into the Muay Thai gym. And I tried that out for a while. It took me a little while to be consistent with it. And then by the time I was like 22, 23, that's when I started like really buckling down and training full time. And basically ever since I started at Team Quest in Portland. That's where I started training. That's where I'm from. And then since then, I've just been consistent in the gym pretty much every day, at least 5 days a week. So, yeah.
How old are you now, since technology is failing me there?
28.
28. So you've been around for, you kind of mentioned 6-7 years already. So, you know, now up, you venture out to Denver, Colorado, Mile High for a reason. It is about 10 times higher than Tri-Cities elevation. Have you changed anything in preparations for that?
Yeah, I'm doubling down on my cardio for sure. That's a given. We don't have any elevation anywhere near here. I would have loved to get up there in the mountains and start, you know, training up there. But I mean, like a month notice, even if I had done that every weekend, I don't think that it would make much of a difference. So I'm training with a mask on all my cardio sessions. That's definitely helping. But at the end of the day, you know, we're both from pretty much sea level. And it is what it is. I think my cardio is going to be tip top. My conditioning is good. And I'm not too worried about the elevation, but I'm taking it seriously for sure.
I will say, as someone who's watched, I think I started watching Invicta from Invicta 5, Invicta 4. So I've seen more than 50 events at this point. It's rare to see a lot of gassing while out in Denver, which is weird because you would look at any UFC card. Salt Lake City is terrible. Denver is terrible. But yet the women tend to seem to have something in them that makes it not as bad. It's probably also because you're not like a 265-pound heavyweight as a main event for some reason.
Yeah, that would probably help.
And then, speaking of the UFC, obviously your goals, you've said it before, your goals is to be in the UFC. Being a 145er, though, is that any concern? Like, do you think you're going to have to move to like 135?
I know that the featherweight class isn't the best in the UFC. There's not a lot of competition there. Obviously, I'd rather fight at 145, but if it came down to it, I would make 135. And I've talked about it, thought about it, and I've cut down to like 139 before, without any issues. So I can make 135. I'm not going to do it until that's my only option. I feel good at featherweight, and I'm like 6 feet tall. So cutting that much weight isn't not that it should be easy, but it's pretty difficult. So yeah, I'm not going to put myself through that if I don't have to. But if the day comes that that's what I need to do, then I'm going to do it.
And we've seen it happen before. Megan Anderson, for example, she's also I think 6'2", 6'3", and because of the weight class, she had to do 135 and didn't always go too well because she's 6'2". Like she is a 145er. Like there is no, she's not a 135er. Is what
did she make 135 before?
I think she did one or two. I can't recall who she did. I feel like she had to because it was like that was like the Cyborg division, then it was the Nunes division, then now it's not a division. But in saying that, that's also when Invicta was kind of also focusing on lower weight classes as well. If Invicta's going to come back and actually build up another 145 division, that's when the UFC had their best women divisions, is when Invicta was around, which is why myself and many others were super excited when they came back with like a world schedule again when they were coming back and all too. But next up is your pro debut, August 9th, Denver, Colorado, Invicta 56. I'm going to pass the mic to you. I don't know if you have sponsors at this point yet, but you have your team, you have all your other supporters and all. I want to kind of pass the mic to you to kind of like give all your shout outs you need and let people know where to follow you. It's like, because, you're just starting your journey. This is the time to follow you before you're in the UFC. Mike's all yours. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to thank my coach, Tony Solis, and other coach, Kelly Solis. Those are my two head coaches. They're number one as far as who I want to thank. And then the rest of my team who's helping me get ready for this at Mercenary Combat Academy. That's my gym. And then I want to thank my sponsors, In Motion Chiropractic, Women of Combat, and Fighter Ellis. I'm not super focused on a whole bunch of sponsors right now, but those are the sponsors that have been with me. So I want to thank you guys. And then just everybody else who's been supporting me along this journey. It's been crazy, and I know a lot of people have been rooting for me. So just want to thank all you guys. And I think that's pretty much it.
Awesome. And when I post this, I'll put your Instagram and all below. Because I know you're pretty active on there too. I think you understand the game, that it's like 40% what you do in the cage now and 60% what you post, which is like counterproductive and insanely stupid. But that's how the sport is going nowadays. But after that, August 9th, 3 weeks away. That's a skill, pro debut. I mean, you only get one. And, I think I mentioned to you off camera, I think you have a great opponent for the first debut. It's going to be one of those situations where I'm going to say it's a guy issue usually, where we bitch and moan about women's fights. I think this fight's not going to be the opposite of that. It's going to be a pretty good stand-up battle. And, and it's free on YouTube. Like, people can stop bitching and just watch it. So best of skill in your debut, and we'll sync ahead of your next one. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.